Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Today what we have is a tale of two mothers, one that you hear about on every network is covering this, big pictures, very emotional, you're hearing about it every couple of minutes on the networks. The other is a story of a mother that you haven't heard. Now both of these mothers have been separated from their families for different reasons. Let me tell you about the one that you haven't heard about today. This is a mother in Buffalo who decided she wanted to homeschool her children. Her name is Kiara Harris, single mother. She started researching homeschooling in November because she said her two elementary school children weren't excelling at the failing public schools in Buffalo. She said, I felt the district was failing my children, and that's when I made the decision to homeschool. In other words, she wanted to take responsibility for her children. She wanted to follow the rules. So she goes down, she files documents at City Hall. She informed the district of her intent to homeschool, according to documents that she provided to the local TV station, because this is the only people that are covering it nationwide, except for us. 7 Eyewitness News, she said they saw the paperwork that was dated December 7th. The district said it received her paperwork. She said, I spoke directly to the homeschool coordinator. She told me this point on my children was unofficially unenrolled from the school. But then, a week later, she gets a call from Child Protective Services, CPS. Why aren't your kids in school, they said. She said, I told them my kids were homeschooled. I told them that I'd filled out all the information. I told them the documents were on file with City Hall. Then she said, she thought everything was fine. She goes on homeschooling. Less than a month later, she was confronted by CPS workers and police who came to take her children away from her. When she said no, they arrested her for obstruction. That was 3 weeks ago. She hasn't seen her children since. They've been in a foster institution. That's the story you're not hearing about. The mom who wants to take responsibility for her kids, who wants to do better, who follows the rules, and now is being victimized by the system. Now, here's a story that you've heard about all day today. This is the story of the mother who has been arrested by ICE in Phoenix, Arizona, and there were protests. 7 of them were arrested. Now, the interesting thing is the protesters were already in place. They already had their signs. They're already there. They knew that she was going to be going for her annual inspection with ICE, and there's a story behind that. We'll tell you about that. But everything was already prepared for the cameras. Everything was set up. And I think that when we look at this and we look at the story that came out in the Washington Post just about 3 weeks ago, January the 13th, in a remarkable exchange with an undocumented mom, Paul Ryan exposes the cruelty of Trumpism, a Trumpism. Now, you have to understand, the GOP establishment, not just the Democrat politicians, but also the GOP establishment politicians like Paul Ryan, want to see this change in immigration fail. They don't want to see our borders patrolled. They don't want to protect families. And you want to talk about parents and children being separated. Let's understand that for many parents, this separation is permanent because their children have been killed by violent criminals in this revolving door that's at the border and part of our justice system. They get picked up for a crime, even a serious crime, and maybe they get deported or maybe they go to jail for a little while. Most of the time they get deported and then they just come right back in. There's no problem. So that is the situation that is not being seen in either of these cases. But I want to tell you about this particular instance. And of course, when we look at the pictures, and this is all for the, the motion, tugging at your emotion, showing what's going on. Look at the picture that they put up of the mother. There you can see her, attractive middle-aged woman. She's looking longingly through the bars behind glass. She's being taken away. It says, as the Washington Post, for years, immigration authorities gave this mother a pass, but on Wednesday, when she checked in with them, they seized her. Oh, who knew? Well, they knew, and they were set up, ready to go with it, okay? Now, according to CNN, immigration officials said she was detained, quote, based on a removal order issued by the Department of Justice's Executive Office for Immigration Review, which became final in May of 2013. They said relevant databases indicate that she had a prior felony conviction dating from March 2009 for criminal impersonation. Now, understand what this is. She had exhausted all of her appeals. Criminal impersonation is, as the LA Times characterized it, identity theft. She had a fake Social Security number. She was working with a fake Social Security number. What happens to the person whose Social Security number that actually represents? See, when you take somebody's Social Security number, they're going to get a letter from the IRS. It's a very serious thing to lie to the government, to take somebody else's identity, to steal that identity. But of course, she came into this country in violation of the laws anyway. She's a foreign citizen. And what they were telling her at the time, the judge did not send her to prison. Understand, she got a felony class 6, which is the lowest felony charge. She could have gotten a class 1 misdemeanor, which is the highest misdemeanor charge. The class 1 misdemeanor, if that had been given to her, would have been 6-month jail sentence. With a class 6 felony, that was 1 to 2 years in jail. Instead, the judge said, you can voluntarily deport. She chose not to do that. And then the Obama administration said, we're not going to have her deported. We're not going to send her to prison. She just has to show up every year to talk to ICE. Now the rules have changed. And people who have a felony conviction, and I have to say, when we look at this, just as I said, when you're doing identity theft, where do we draw the line on this? How many passes do people get with this? Take a look at the VW executive. This guy, his company got $4 billion. He's looking at 139 years in jail from the EPA. Why? Because he lied to the government. If you lie to the FBI, that can be a more serious crime than the crime that they're calling you in to question you for. So the government doesn't take it politely when people lie to them, except if you're an illegal alien, if you are a foreign citizen here illegally. And understand that if she chose to voluntarily deport, her family could voluntarily deport with her to be with her. That's a very different deal than people who are separated from their families because they commit a felony and go to jail. But of course, we have criminals who have civil liberties and special rights as immigrants. We've now seen with the court in California that there is now a newly discovered right of immigration that is not in the Constitution, just like the right to kill your child is not in the Constitution. So they keep discovering these rights, and yet we keep losing our rights, just as this mother in New York is separated from her children, even though she followed all the rules and tried to act responsibly for her own children. For Infowars, I'm David Knight.
In case you haven't heard, Infowars has become the most influential media outlet in America. We're making freedom go viral. And now we are proud to announce a new weapon in the epic battle against the globalists. Infowars Prime, where you can watch live high-definition feeds of The Alex Jones Show, plus exclusive insider videos from the Infowars crew and behind-the-scenes action. Go to Infowars.com/app and download today. Infowars Prime is available right now for your iPhone or Android. You will have access to exclusive videos that you can't see anywhere else. And that means live coverage of events and breaking news on location as it happens. You can also take advantage of amazing deals from the Infowars store that are only available for Infowars Prime subscribers. That's Infowars Prime at Infowars.com/app. And if you can hear my voice, you are the resistance.